Right, everyone. Hello. Hope this is recording. Um, it is. Good. Okay. So we're going to talk about our next project, the InC project. My apologies for getting this video out late in the game like this. But we'll just push through and show you guys. I'm assuming because I didn't hear from anyone that most of us know what's going on. Anyways, I got kind of a rough mock-up of what I'm looking for here with this project. And okay, so let's look at ye old website here. So you can go through the project, project 2. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, and hopefully a number of you have already done this, but if you haven't, I know that some due dates get pushed back with this situation, but if you haven't watched it, this is what's going on here. This is a remake of a very famous piece by Terry Riley, who was a minimalist composer. We're going to talk about him a little more this coming week. And what he did was he took Terry Riley's piece was readapted by this group in Mali with the help of West African Mali, with the help of some American, I believe, and Americans and an English producer. I think Brian Eno had his fingers on this. Anyway, so they did this piece. It's a very famous piece. Pretty cool. Watch the whole thing. It's great. Clean your room and turn this on. That's what minimalist music is for. This is a classic example of the musical movement called minimalism. Okay, so check that out. Get into it. That's kind of what I'm hoping you guys will use as a reference when you're creating your project. All right, so read the rubric. So what we're going to do is then use this score. So there's actually a score for that piece of music, and you're going to do a MIDI performance of each of these different motives. Okay. I have to go to another document to talk about what we're supposed to do, but just real quick, you can read this on your own. Let's see. If you can't read music, I'm sorry. You should learn to read music, at least enough to be able to play this piece. It's pretty standard notationally speaking. But I can send you some riffs. I'm going to post those up, or I think there's one student I'm going to email some of those to. So I'll send you some riffs. There's a MIDI file I actually found if you want to dive in there. Okay, so how do you realize this, or how do you create this? So you're going to use, you can use Pro Tools if you want to do the MIDI on Pro Tools. I haven't had time to get that set up. I'm sure a lot of you use DAWs like Ableton or Fruity Loops or Logic. Frankly, you could probably just do these pieces in Ableton or Fruity Loops or Logic if you wanted to. I'm not going to be a stickler about Pro Tools. If you took the time to do this with Pro Tools, your Pro Tools chops would just get better, which is a good thing. Anyways, so you're going to create a MIDI performance of each of these motives, okay? You don't have to actually perform this piece. You're going to be able to do a lot of looping. I'll explain what I mean by that. And then you're going to need at least six individual instruments. Quotes. I don't know if you guys can see my quotes. Playing this. This will make sense as you read the piece. Okay, I'm going to get away from this rubric. Please use this as a reference. Check this out. So let's look at the Terry Riley piece. Here's the directions and the score. It's not a complex score. That's really the genius of this. It's minimalism. So here's the score, and the piece is composed of these 53 different riffs. I'm going to call them riffs. This is written back in 1964. Really early piece. Now, I'm not going to ask you guys to go all the way to 53 with this. I'd be happy if you got to 6. In fact, I think that's what my demo does. I'm not looking for more than 5 minutes. Usual running time on this piece is about an hour. I don't need an hour-long version of InC from all of you. That's fine. So the way it works is all the instruments, or everyone in the ensemble, this is usually done live, with live performers, but you can do it this way too. They all start on this riff here. They're all playing that. And then sooner or later, one of the players decides to go over to the next one. And all the others maybe stay there. And then another player, let's say someone else moves over there. So then at the same time you have both of these riffs going. Okay? And then at some point somebody moves to there. And then maybe for a little bit you'll have all three of these going. Then slowly someone moves ahead to there. You kind of choose when you want to go to the next loop. But what happens is, as you go through, by the time you have someone on, let's say this, 9, the entire group is sort of moved more sort of gradually through the piece. And what this does is it creates a really interesting counterpoint. It's a device. It's a device to create, to generate. It's really generative. It generates counterpoint. So what you're going to do when you're performing this, and I can show you, I did this in Ableton, you only have to do this once. Okay, here's a whole bunch of parts I made, but here's my part. And I kind of really just slop my way through this. I'd like to just say right now that this is not the best version of InC. I would have wanted to do. I worked through this pretty quickly, but nevertheless, it is a version of InC. So you can see here, I actually slowed this way down too. My tempo was 118 here, but I think I slowed it. I think I slowed things down to like 100, and then just sped it up later. But so let's see, where's that hi-hat part? Let's get rid of that. You can see there we're quantized. I'm reading this as a 16th note. So I do that for a while. And all I have to do is pick 3 of these. And then you can see here, I come in with the next riff. And then here's another one. Right? So each one of those corresponds to one of these riffs here. And then the genius is I can just go in and export all these as parts, but I can just take the individual loops. So let me show you, there's a folder I have with each one of those individual riffs here. So this is only about 2 seconds, right? So there's number 1. And then what you can do is after you bounce a bunch of those out, and this is the one way to do it. There's a couple different ways you can do it. This is one way to do it. Then you could just change the MIDI instrument. So here's the guitar part I got. That's kind of neat. I know. There's another one I did a different way. Anyway, so I ended up with 3 of these. And then the next thing you do is you got to create that pulse part. So that was pretty neat too. It talks about it in the score, but what you're supposed to have is someone playing 8th notes, an instrument playing 8th notes. All right, so those are all MIDI instruments, synths from Ableton. Now I exported them out and put them into Pro Tools because I'm just trying to keep the Pro Tools theme going. Thinking about it now, I don't know. I don't see any reason why you couldn't do it all in Ableton. Who knows? It's up to you. Okay, so a couple other things we can try here, but let's go in. So what I did was I took, so for example, that first riff here, let's zoom in. Let's solo that. So here's BD, BD, BD. Let's just solo that so we can hear it. Right? What I did was I looped it. Now you'll notice I picked a tempo in Ableton, 118, and I've got that selected here as well. That's very good. And this is all about the grid. These loops will sometimes be in 3/4 and sometimes will be in 2/4. So the grid is really going to help you with all this looping stuff. Some really neat stuff can happen. So you can see I've got all 3 of these different parts. Remember, you're going to need more like 6 to 8 of these. And I'm looping those. And then what happens is you can see one of them after a while breaks away and starts playing a different riff. In fact, right here. So let's listen. This top one, the African Marimba. very African from Ableton. Um, so now that one's on the new riff. And then look, this guitar. Here we go. Oh, the bass goes first. And then this one switched again. You notice there's a little break there, and that's because there's a rest in the score. Here, I'll show you. Boop, beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, that one. And then there's a neat part too. This is the click is going to be really helpful because this one is doot 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 doot, and this one is doot 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 doot. So lots of fun problems for you to solve when you're loading up that. Oh, did you freeze? All right, we don't need a frozen image of me. Frozen in time. Frozen in kryptonite. No, carbonite. He should be perfectly safe. He's been frozen in carbonite. Okay. So those are my parts. Now, you might have noticed some swirling delay type sounds, and that's because I put some of those on there. My Pro Tools plugins are not that exciting. I don't know how exciting your guys are. But another requirement of this project is I'm going to need a number of the kind of effects that we talked about. So, for example, my bass part has a flange on it. You guys notice that? Flange-o-matic. I tweaked this a little bit. I put a pretty fun delay on my guitar. Did some modulation, and there's some triplet stereo kind of ping pong stuff going on. Lots of effects informed by the reading we did last time. I did a pitch doubling on this one. Now you guys probably have much cooler effects in your other DAWs that you use. So, but yeah, let's pay a lot of detail to it. I'm going for sort of a psychedelic InC. Another thing you could do too is, if you think about the length of a riff like this, you could very well just do a repeat of what you guys did in the discussion board for the other week. You just drag one of these riffs into one of those max patches and then export that, just let it play for a while. Export that as an audio file and then put that into one of your DAW. Then you could have a really cool, the sort of more advanced flange or phaser or chorus or whatever that you could use. I'm giving you a fair amount of creative leeway here. Required things are, of course, these looping riffs from the piece InC, and then that they be, not all of them, but that they have the techniques applied to them, processed in the way that we talked about last module, I guess. Okay, and then I did that too with these. These are my pulse parts up here. I've actually got 3 of them layered. Oops, not that. Goof. Goodness. Let's start you here. You can see I've got some delay on this one. It's kind of a weird synth part. Then we got these bells. And that's supposed to go for the whole piece. You could automate this so different instruments are playing the pulse at a different time. And then I added some percussion too. I've got some percussion here. And let me show you what I mean. So here's here. Got a nice little Afrobeat hi-hat pattern. It's a very famous hi-hat pattern in West African music. Then I got some wood blocks coming in. Then I actually did kind of a kick groove here. Whoops, can't hear it. Let's bring that in. And then the easy thing here is I drag these riffs in. I've got my grid, and I just press in Pro Tools. My looping thing is Option R for repeat, and I don't know, 45 times. And that should, look at that, it lines up great. So now I've got my riff, or my kick and snare sound. It's more of a rim shot. Here we go. Boom. So the whole piece, let's skip around. I can kind of show you where all the different parts come in. Now, I guess this is enough rhythm tracks. You could certainly do more. I was trying to find a shaker in Ableton, or what are those called? Not a guiro, a shakeree. You know those big gourds with the beads on them. But I didn't. I was frantically trying to get this to a spot where I could have something to show you guys. But so add a bunch more percussion parts. This is enough pulse parts, but I could totally see somebody tweaking out and doing some really cool, more kind of modular synth type sounding pulses. It's really up to you. I don't know how bored you guys are. I don't know if you've been sleeping till 2 p.m. or waking up at 6 a.m. But you could really dive in on this and have some real fun. I honestly wish I had a lot more time because this has been super fun for me. So yeah, let's just listen to all the parts from the beginning, and I'll kind of show you how it changes. Whoops, start from the beginning. Comes my so yeah, kind of fun. And I think each of these parts, repeats somewhere between, 17 and, I don't know, 37 or 43. I was trying to pick prime numbers just because. There we go. Now one of them switched over. So that's kind of fun, isn't it? There's kind of a neat part here where the instruments play these long sort of whole notes. Right here. So I think this is 6 in the, let's see. Yeah, it's this one. So 2 of the instruments are there, and then the bass is still here. And 3. Doot, 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 doot. All right. So I hope you guys get the idea with that. This should be fun. This is about 3 minutes. I would be okay with that. I'd probably want to get the A. I'd probably want another minute or two. Get to the second line of the riffs. And I'm going to be looking for those effects. I want you guys to talk about the effects you applied. I wanted to be informed by what we did the last module. There were a lot of neat effects, and this is a really cool pulse-based piece that will have that would utilize would demonstrate the effects really well. You could get some really cool results with that, especially with all the different the pulsating, the C, the parts that are just bing, 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 bing. You do a lot of neat stuff with that. And then your rhythm, your percussion parts down here. I mean, you could do an old '90s jungle beat for all I care. I mean, go for it, have fun with that. Layer a bunch of beats in there. You can edit it all up and have the beats do stops, or the sky's the limit on this. And you'll see, the requirements are in the rubric. So that is what I'm asking for with this project, with the InC or your project 2. Now I do have that due this Sunday. If you need some more time because you want to jam out, that's fine. When students want to jam out, especially in this situation, I'm happy to let them jam out, or get it done on time. That's really up to you. Let me know if there's any other questions, and okay, we'll regroup and wrap up the rest of our course here. There's only 2 weeks left. Can you guys believe that? Okay, have fun with this, and let me know if there's any questions. Thanks. Bye.